For Azeroth!
Heyo folks, Dude here, and welcome to the next class overview for World of Warcraft Legion. Today I will be discussing the Brewmaster Monk, which has gone through a few alterations since the original inception of the Brewmaster Monk Specialization. First of all, let's get one thing out of the way. Just like they have done with certain other classes, the Brewmaster has lost his ability to generate chi. Now instead relies on a much more basic premise around the idea of using its abilities correctly, as well as of course that some abilities actually reduce other abilities that are required for you to use. So let's start off very simply. What are the abilities mostly remind? They still revolve around a few things generally, but Blackout Kick has been removed in exchange for Blackout Strike, which uses your weapon, and actually instead of relying on chi, it simply has a short cooldown. You still have Tiger Palm, which still does the base damage. So let's start off very simple. As you can see, Tiger Palm still works pretty similar as it always did. You use your Tiger Palm and it just directly damages. You also have, of course, Blackout Strike, which causes that you use your weapon, which smacks it about a bit. So, but this one, of course, like I said, is on a cooldown. So that's still that. Still works pretty much the same either way. As you can see, you can actually kind of combo it quite well with Tiger Palm, considering Tiger Palm costs significantly less energy than it did for the Windwalker Monk. Now, third ability, of course, is of course familiar to anyone playing Brewmaster Monks, which is Keg Smash. You use this, you throw a keg, and the enemy of course has reduced movement speed as well as drenched in brew, causing it to be vulnerable to your fourth ability called Breath of Fire. Basically, you breathe fire on targets in front of you, causing, of course, fire damage to your targets affected by Keg Smash will also burn for. So as you can see, you apply this, then you use this, and they take some extra damage over time. Not a very bad idea to have. As you can see, it still pretty much works the same as it always does. So you use this, and it does that. Now, for the next few abilities, we're going to have to rely a bit on the tanking dummy. This could end badly very seriously because I am not the expert. I am. Some of the other primary abilities still remain. Other abilities, for example, that you hold on to, which is still Zen Meditation, this still works the same, which causes them being hit by a melee attack or taking other action. Well, of course, in that time you take 60% reduced damage for 8 seconds, but being hit by melee attacks or another action is taken will cancel the effect. So you activate this, and while you're in this you take significant reduced damage. It's as straightforward ability as it can get and doesn't need further explanation. But of course, like I said, if you get hit by it by a melee attack, you're pretty much screwed. So that's that out of the way. Now for tanking effects, you work a little bit differently compared to, of course, other specialization due to the stagger effect, which causes that the percentage of the damage you take directly is actually taken over time. Now this sounds like a strange thing, but for healers this can actually save your life, because of course it's over time, so the healers know how to more easier react to it. Now of course there are other abilities that work more easier with the stagger effect, which are your brews, which work on a cooldown reduction effect with your Tiger Palm, basically similar to what they had with the tanking paladin specialization. So Purifying Brew is the first one. It still works pretty much the same. I don't know if it was always 50%. I thought it used to be, like 100%, but it seems to have changed. Now it clears 50% of the damage delayed with stagger. So let's get a few hits in, and as you can see, I take some increased damage from it, and while that happens you see that it goes. So I use this, and all of a sudden I'm fine. I still take the damage, of course, over time, but considering how much it is now reduced, that helps quite a bit. Just notice I forgot one little ability. Let's get that out of the way real quick. Just getting myself a little healed up for the next little bit. Now, another one that is actually added to it is called Iron Skin Brew. This is actually just an amplification of your stagger effect, which causes that the amount of damage you can actually is absorbed by your stagger is actually increased by an additional 40%. So this actually causes that you take a serious amount of reduced damage from that. A lot of damage is all of a sudden turned into overtime. Of course, this can be considered as a threat, but in high damage, for example, if an enemy is about to use something that could be considered lethal, this will definitely reduce it to a much more manageable level. So let's activate this, and as you can see, it reduces that effect by a serious amount. Let me make one thing clear though, this does actually work on a shared cooldown with your, well, better since it shares its charges with Purifying Brew. So you sometimes are going to have to make a serious choice between either Purifying or Fortify or Iron Skin Brew. So that's something you really need to consider. Another thing that is of course known to the... Okay, that just happened. I don't know what that just did, but anyway, let's get back to it. Of course, another ability that you have for tanking effects is Fortifying Brew, which causes that your skin turns to stone and you basically increase your damage your maximum health by 20%, and the damage delay effect from staggers increased by 20%, and the damage that you take is reduced by 20%. Basically what you can expect from a tanking cooldown ability. You still hold on to some of the other abilities, like for example Crackling Jade Lightning and Transcendence, but for the most part it stays pretty much the same. So let's get into the abilities. Now you're gonna find a lot of similarities to the Windwalker Monk. I haven't selected this because I just recently got this guy this high and I hadn't done it with this specialization yet. So let's get to it. Now, the level 15 are exactly the same as they did before. You have Chi Burst, Eye of the Tiger, and Chi Wave. They work exactly the same as they did with the Windwalker Monk. If you haven't seen that video, I put an annotation at the start of this video that would direct you to that particular video. So we can skip that one. The same thing counts to the level 30 version. Level 30 talents, which is of course Chi, Torpedo, Tiger's Lust, and Celerity. Again, same case, so this basically can be skipped. Now to the level 45 is when things start to get at least a bit different, which is with the Light Brewing ability. This is the one I'll start off, of course, first with, which causes that it reduces the cooldown of Iron Skin Brew and Purifying Brew by 3 seconds and increase their number of charges by 1. So this actually works quite well, considering that this is basically what you're going to need. It allows you, of course, to get your charges back faster and an extra, which definitely helps out quite a bit when necessary. So this is a basic tool. Like I said, it's self-explanatory what it does. Next up is Gift of the Mists, which basically causes that you have a passive as a Brewwalker Monk called Gift of the Ox, which causes when you take damage there's a chance that a healing sphere will be visible only to you near the area near you, and when you move through it, you are healed for a certain amount. You also have another passive ability called Celestial Fortune, which causes that you have a chance equal to your critical strike chance to be healed for an additional 65% of the amount healed. And of course you have your mastery called Elusive Brawler, not Brawler, I don't know what the hell that is. Each time you are hit by a melee attack, you gain a stacking 40% increase to dodge and until your next successful dodge. So basically this increases that, and you increase your... Now the stagger, of course, I've already explained. It's self-explanatory, so we can skip that. Let's get back to the talent where this works in. So basically, Gift of the Axe has an up to 60% increased chance to trigger based on your missing health. So this actually works with another ability that wasn't that well actively shown off, which is a... And as you can see, there it is. So what you have as a... monk, of course, like I said, you have a chance of actually regaining, of having these healing spheres that cause you to allow you to heal yourself on if you move through it. But you can actually do it in another way with an ability called Expel Harm, which I just showed off, which causes that you draw in all the healing sphere near you, and a percentage of all the 10% of that amount that you were healed for it is actually then transferred as damage towards the nearest enemy near you. So this works actually quite well with certain abilities. So they've actually changed it into a much more proactive effect now with the with the Brewmaster Monk, which is definitely gonna aid a lot of people who just hate that whole walking around thing. This is definitely reducing that quite a bit. Also, Expel Harm does not have a cooldown, it works on an energies level, so that helps quite a bit as well. Next up is Black Ox Brew, which is on a 1.5 minute cooldown. It works like this. Chug some Black Ox Brew, which instantly refills your energy, and then your Iron Skin Brew and Purifying Brew. Basically, this works the same as the Energizing Elixir, which causes you to simply gain the full increase of all the resources that you require. It charges on your brews to draw full energy. I don't think I have to show this off because it works very similar to that Energizing Elixir for the Windwalker Monk. Now in the level 60 talents you have access to Ring of Peace, Lake Sweep, and Summon Black Ox Statue. Lake Sweep and Ring of Peace I have already discussed, which all still work the same. Black Ox Statue on the other hand is a bit of a new one, which is to anyone who mostly plays Black Ox, who plays a Brewmaster should be familiar with, which causes that you summon a Black Ox Statue at the target location for 50 minutes, pulsing threat to all enemies within 30 yards. You may cast Provoke on the statue to taunt all enemies near the statue. So basically how this works is you put this thing here, you put this statue somewhere, and it starts of course drawing threat from enemies. Now of course this helps quite a bit if you need to get rid of some serious threat away from you without having to rely on your tank. So this actually works quite well if you know how to use it. Of course you can and of course like I said, you can put, as it said as well, you can use Provoke on it, which causes it immediately causes that. And as you can see, it has a pretty significant health. Let's see what kind of health we're dealing with here. It's, I think, about half of what you've got, but that's not actually a pretty good amount considering. So it's like a mini tank for your personally, just for yourself. And since it's only on a 10-second cooldown, you can actually redirect this thing to wherever you need it to go at whenever you need it. So it's a really good ability when you need to get some threat off you. I can definitely see some use in it. I wouldn't consider it for PvP situations because, well, I think it's pretty clear why that is. In the level 75 talents, you have Healing Elixir, Diffuse Magic, and Dampen Harm. These are still pretty much the same as they did with the Windwalker Monk. Again, like I said, if you want to know what these ones do, please go check the Windwalker Monk for those abilities. So let's move on to the next one, which is in the level 90 talents, which are, of course, including Rushing Jade Wind, Invoke Neozao the Black Ox, and Special Delivery. Let's start with Rushing Jade Wind. Well, we can actually basically just skip that because I've already discussed that one with the Windwalker Monk, and I don't need to discuss it here. So, the other two are Special Delivery and Invoke Neozao the Black Ox. Let's start with Special Delivery, considering that one is a passive. So, Special Delivery causes that when you drink Iron Skin or Purifying Brew, you have a chance to toss a keg high into the air that lands nearby. After 3 seconds, dealing a certain amount of damage within 8 yards and reducing. So basically this works like a keg smash on demand. So basically, as I'm fighting and I chuck this, there's actually a chance that I can as you can see, there's only a chance of it, so the chance that getting it is a little slight. I'm still hoping to eventually get it, but it doesn't seem to really want to trigger. So it's just getting a little, but I think that the idea behind it is pretty clear. So basically this causes you that you drop a keg in your location, causing you to, well, as it says, it basically works like a keg smash, but then triggered by another ability. So it doesn't really need any further explanation. Let's start then with Invoke Neozao the Black Ox. Basically this works the same as with the White Tiger, but instead it is an ox, of course, and it damages and taunts enemies. It will also frequently stomps, which deals, so it's basically, like I said, the same as Neozao the White Tiger, but instead it is an ox and it continually does. It works pretty similar as it always does. like I said, it basically works the same as the White Tiger does. So you get this guy to help you out when you seriously need it. As it is said, it draws threats. So, for example, if we switch targets, he immediately switches over to the Black Ox. As you can see, he constantly takes quite a bit of a beating from it, and he can be killed, of course. But considering everything, this is a good little something because it has, of course, much more health, of course, than that statue does. And of course, it's just that nice little additional damage that you perhaps need for higher damaging boss encounters throughout the game. So that's pretty much that on the level 90 talent. So let's move on to the next one, which includes, of course, Elusive Dancer, High Tolerance, and Blackout Combo. So let's start off with Elusive Dancer. Elusive Dance, causing the Purifying Brew now clears an additional 15% of damage delayed with stagger. It also grants up to 15% dodge and damage done for 6 seconds based on the level of staggered damage purified. So basically, it increases your clearing chance on Purifying Brew, as well as, of course, increasing your dodge chance, as well as based on, of course, on the stagger amount that you have. So it's a pretty straightforward effect. So it basically amplifies on the stagger effect as well as your basic tanking passives. So I can pretty much get over with that one, and let's get to High Tolerance, which causes that stagger delays an additional 10% of incoming damage, and you gain 50% haste based on your current level of stagger. So the higher your stagger is, the higher your haste gets, allows you to easier get, of course, causing that you can use some of your abilities much quicker. So this is actually a pretty good one, considering if your haste increases, so does the cooldown reduction on your other abilities. So you can definitely see this, of course, causing you that you regain abilities that you need when you need it at a certain interval. So it basically improves upon already affecting abilities. So let's move on to the last one, which is Blackout Combo, which actually amplifies the abilities of the effects of other abilities while after using this one. So Blackout Strike was very straightforward and doesn't do anything special with this, though it does, of course, improve other things. As it describes, Blackout Strike also empowers your next ability, causing that Tiger Palms deals 200% increased damage, which is quite a bit. You gotta be honest. Breath of Fire's cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds. Kinetic Smash reduces the remaining cooldown on your brews by 2 seconds. By an additional 2 seconds, Pure Iron Skin Brew pauses stagger damage for 3 seconds. So basically, it kind of makes you immune to some damage from your stagger first. And Purifying Brew grants you a stack of Elusive Brawler, which of course increases the entire idea of your dodging effects. So this basically empowers, but it requires with the idea of using a combo system, which for tanks doesn't always really work out that well, which requires you to build certain rotations. That doesn't really help that well. But still, I think this idea isn't too bad because it really emphasizes more on the use of Blackout Strike. So I can definitely see some usefulness to this ability. So let's try it out. For example, I use Blackout Strike, and Tiger Palm's damage is massively increased. We do this, Kick Smash, and as you can see, it basically works like it always does. And so as it is described, it basically works as it should, and it reduces the cooldown by serious amounts for every one of those abilities when you use Blackout Strike. So it's a pretty straightforward and clear talent to be used, but as I said, it requires a combo system. This will work for certain certain tanks, but it doesn't maybe do it for me. I don't actually main Brewwalker myself. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, though. This has been an interesting little thing to try out for the Brewmaster Monk, because I don't use this guy at all, so it was a little interesting to try it out like this. Still, I hope this has been the Brewmaster Specialization for the Monk class in World of Warcraft Legion. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, please remember to rate the video and like it if you enjoyed it. or found it informative. If you want to see more of my videos, you can find it on my channel by subscribing to it and clicking on the link, of course. And I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay safe, be happy, be merry, and bye-bye!